Performance of the night, Chito Vera, Barnett, Pereira, and Bobby Green. They all won $50,000. Congratulations.
Dana, obviously just a crazy show from start to finish. I mean, what were your thoughts on the event and obviously being back in a sold-out Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, you guys know, you felt it tonight. The energy in here was insane. The energy at the weigh-ins yesterday was insane. It's good to be back in New York.
Yeah. Fight of the night, as you said, you probably could have written the check beforehand. Both those guys went to the hospital. So do you happen to have an update on medically how they are?
We sent them to the hospital because that's what we do. I mean, as soon as it was over, I didn't want Chandler to do any media, talk to anybody. I just wanted him to get straight in an ambulance and go to the hospital. So, it's not like there was anything wrong with either one of them other than that was a war. We just want to make sure. We love fights like that, but I don't love seeing, guys get hit like that. So just precautionary.
Justin Gaethje said, "Hey, listen, I win, I get a title shot. If not, I riot. Can we prevent the riot from happening? Is he in line for the winner next month?"
It makes sense, but we'll see what happens.
Fair enough.
I don't make fights the night of the fight.
Let's get your thoughts on the main event. Obviously, it looked like it was going to be over early, and then Colby Covington battles back and makes it a close fight. I mean, what was your thought on that?
If Usman doesn't exist, Colby Covington is the champion here, Usman is just, this guy's the best ever. He's the best welterweight of all time. He is on his way to possible GOAT status. And Colby Covington is one tough dude. I mean, he is so tough.
Do you have to start looking for new things for Usman to do at this point, like you said, with his domination? Man, I imagine if Leon Edwards wins, he'd finally get a title shot. But, I mean, it's like rematches moving forward, right? I mean, you start looking at
there's
things.
Still guys here. I mean, you got some guys out there talking about Khamzat Chimaev, that he's ready for it. He's had 4 fights in the UFC. I get it. Listen, the dude's one of the coolest, baddest things we've ever seen, the way he rips through people. But once you break into that top 10, top 5, and let's not even talk about Usman. I mean, it's a whole nother game. He's a couple fights away. If he can beat a couple of guys, in the top 10, top 5, then we'll see. And yes,
Leon.
Yeah, has been waiting for a title shot for a long time too. He's been in there, fought the fights we told him to do. He's had a lot of bad luck. Things happen, but there's always somebody.
Yeah. I did want to ask you, Kamaru's been talking about a possible boxing match with Canelo, which seemed surprising. I mean, is there something that you would even discuss?
Is that what
he
said tonight?
Yeah, well, he said it this week. He's just like the greatest pound-for-pound MMA fighter, the greatest pound-for-pound boxer.
I watched the Canelo fight tonight. He don't want to fight Canelo. You don't want to fight Canelo. Come on, man. Let's stop this shit. If Canelo wants to come over here, let's do it. He don't want to box Canelo.
I don't think Canelo wants to fight MMA either. So,
yeah.
Last thing I did want to ask you about the co-main event as well. Obviously, a great fight there as well. What did you think about the co-main event?
Yeah, an awesome fight. Those two put on an incredible performance. I mean, I don't know what was a bad fight tonight. I mean, tonight was a great card. So many people look good. Burgos and Billy had to come in after Gaethje and whatever. But other than that, that would have been the fight of the night. I mean, that fight was incredible. And that's, I should have mentioned that too. I'm going to take care of those two guys too. They're not getting 50, but they'll get something that they won't be bummed out about.
Nice. And the last thing I'll ask is, I like to say, I know we don't make fights, but a couple of weeks ago we asked you about Carla Esparza saying that she was going to wait around for the title shot. And you said, hey, I'd stay busy. But what do you think? I mean, does she make sense as the next fight, or do you think there's options out there for Rose moving forward?
No, we have an option. Yeah. You don't sit around and wait for fights. It's a really bad idea.
Dana, to your right over here. To your right, Dana.
Yeah.
Weili obviously kind of in a weird position now, having lost twice in a row to Rose. Is it kind of regrettable when this kind of thing happens, or how far away is she from a title fight now? Because obviously it was very close and competitive, but it's a weird spot to be in for her.
How far is Weili away?
Not to make the trilogy right away or anything. But,
She just lost the fight.
Dana right here.
yeah. Okay, fair enough, yeah. Chris Barnett, though.
She's pretty far.
Yes. Chris Barnett, great performance, obviously. Spinning wheel kick for a heavyweight. Crazy to see that. big personality. What do you make of this guy?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's impressive. Don't judge a book by its cover. Spinning wheel kick, flips, not a bad dancer either.
Not at all. Not at all. And Kayla Harrison said she was here in New York today. Do you know if she was in attendance at all?
If she was what?
If she was here at the fights?
No. Not that I know of.
He was.
Oh, she was? Oh, there you go.
All right.
Show you what I know.
The backup, Vicente Luque, obviously he wasn't needed, but a lot of fans are wondering when we might see him back. He's obviously another guy at welterweight who's on a great run right now.
Yeah, I don't know. The last thing on earth I'm thinking about right now.
Some of the guys on the prelims, the debut of Alex Pereira, obviously a lot of people saying he might have the path to Adesanya after their kickboxing background. What were just your general thoughts?
He looked damn good tonight, He did a great job defending the takedown and then, got the guy where he needed him and incredible flying knee.
And then Ian Gary, I mean, obviously it's very lofty to say anyone could be the next Conor McGregor, but certainly he has a couple of those ingredients. Just what were your thoughts on his debut for being such a young guy?
Yeah, I don't think there's ever going to be another Conor McGregor, but he'll be whoever he is. And you know how the Irish support their own. So if this kid stays on a run and starts to do great things, I'm sure we're going to see big things from him.
How does Dana White celebrate in New York?
Start the what?
How do you celebrate in New York City? A big event like this.
How do I settle what?
Celebrate.
Celebrate? Yeah. I'm going to fucking sleep, man. I'm old. I can't do it like I used to. I'm very happy. We've had an incredible 2 weeks, back-to-back incredible fights, and I'm tired.
Dana, over here.
Yeah.
Have you spoken with Frankie Edgar? He was a little upset over that stoppage against Marlon Vera.
I love Frankie Edgar. He's wrong. It was a great stoppage. Even when Frankie, was on his knees and arguing with the ref and everything else, when he still stood up, he wasn't right after. So it was a good stoppage.
Chris Curtis, too, I think was one of the bigger underdogs on the entire night, moving up a weight class to fight Phil Hawes. What did you make of his performance in there? After I think he had like 30-something fights before getting into the UFC.
Yeah, no, he looked strong. He looked good, man. And yeah, his performance was great too. I got to give him something too.
Yeah,
That's a good idea. Yeah,
he was back here pleading for bonus.
Yeah,
I think he's
all right.
ridiculously
It's
broke.
coming. It's coming.
Finally, what did you make of Bobby Green's performance too?
He looked awesome. What was crazy is when he threw those two punches, he was squared up, and yeah, it was very impressive.
And finally, what did you do with Edmund Shabazian now? He had such a bright future for so long.
Yeah.
He had that countdown for like he wanted to be the youngest champion. Now he's 3 losses in a row. Where does he go from here?
I don't know. You give him another fight and see what happens, and I don't know. It's crazy how fast things can turn in this sport. 1 minute you're on the rise, next minute you're on a skid. It's a rough sport.
Hey, Dana.
Yeah.
You've now had The Rock and Halle Berry presenting belts here at the Mecca, New York. Which one did you have more fun as a sidekick with inside the octagon?
They're both fun. Halle is incredibly passionate about the sport. She loves the sport. That she just did a movie about the sport that's coming out soon. So, I'm going to support her however I can in promoting her movie.
And because this is the Mecca, this is New York, do you think that'll be a trend to have a figure like that presenting belts every time we're here in New York moving forward?
No, it just sort of worked out this way. Her and I had during the pandemic, we were part of a charity that Ruben put on for Fanatics, and people bid to go to dinner with us. So we had the dinner last night, and she flew in for the fights and the dinner.
And last question, I know we're not thinking too far ahead here, but now that this is all said and done, this fight between Gaethje and Chandler, any idea what you're going to do with Beneil Dariush, who's on such a winning streak, the number 3 guy in the division?
What did you ask me? What am I going to do with who?
Beneil Dariush.
Yeah. Yes, we do. I'm not going to tell you, but yes.
We'll try in a few days.
Yeah, all right.
Dana right here in front of you. Kamaru is now 15-0 in the UFC. The only one with a longer winning streak is Anderson Silva, who started 16-0. Is this run something? How special is this from what you're seeing here?
I'm telling you, this guy is very special, man. He's damn good, and I think he's the greatest welterweight ever. He's obviously the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world right now, and he's one of the guys that we could all start arguing with about soon about GOAT status. This guy, and he's fighting everybody. It's not like he's only fought this guy, didn't fight. He's fought everybody. He's starting to come back the second time around now and beat guys. The only guy I think he has to fight is Leon, or he did fight Leon. Yeah, he did. He beat him too. Yeah, so he's starting to.
Did you ever think that run by Silva would be broken? I mean, he's one fight away from tying it
Well,
at the time.
and look at the competition he's facing. I mean, these are all really bad dudes. It's very impressive.
Would you like to see him, stay at welterweight, obviously for the foreseeable future, or is he a guy you think could maybe go for a second belt at 185? I know him and Izzy are close,
Yeah.
but is that something that if we just keep going through these contenders that you would maybe consider?
Yeah, I think you just keep winning. I mean, you just keep winning, and you get the record so far apart that nobody's ever going to break it. Anderson Silva, if you look at the 20 years, he did 16. And now this kid could do what? I don't know, 18, 20? How much longer does he want to fight? We'll see.
And last thing, a lot of people were pointing out on Twitter and just seeing the action in the cage, a lot of fighters were slipping tonight on the
I noticed
deckles
that
on
too.
the mat.
I
Yeah.
don't know what the hell why that was happening. The canvas that we use is nasty. I mean, that stuff will take your skin right off. It's got such a high grade of I don't know what the fucking word is, but you know what I'm saying. What is it?
Tack.
Okay. I'll take it. And guys were slipping. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But I did notice that too.
Yeah, it was just a random thing. It's
And you
not,
saw
guys
like
didn't use
right
it.
before, after the eye poke with Colby, Usman was in the corner just rubbing his feet on the mat like a million times, like he felt like it was sticky or wet or something. I don't know. You got to ask him when he comes in here what he felt.
Yeah. Did you guys use a different surface than usual, or is it the same thing?
I
as
doubt
always?
it. I highly doubt it. We use the same canvas. Do we have to spray some crazy fucking COVID shit on there tonight, or who knows? I don't know. We'll find out though and see what went wrong tonight.
Thank you, Dana.
Yep.
Dana, Colby's had 2 close losses in his last 3 fights. But where does he go from here?
Yeah, I know. Listen, he's the second best guy in the division. He's the second best guy in the world. He's the second best guy in the world, no doubt about it. The guy is so durable and tough. His fighting style is tough to beat, and his cardio is insane. So I don't think anybody else beats that guy but Usman. So I don't know. If Usman doesn't exist, he's the world champion. But unfortunately for him, Usman does.
And obviously, you've had a lot of personal rivalries in the UFC in your time. Where does Usman Colby rank?
It's up there. I would say the number one of all time was John and Daniel Cormier. And I'd put those two right up there with him,
Dana, you just mentioned John Jones right in the middle. Any idea on what's happening with his legal matters or when there's a chance we might be seeing him in the cage again?
I don't know anything, but he's not fighting until next year, so I'm not even thinking about that yet. He said next year, so we'll see.
Dana, over here. Just curious, and obviously we know why you moved Gagey Chandler to the first fight of the night in the pay-per-view, but is there any metric that you'll be able to look at that says, maybe that's not such a bad idea to kick off a pay-per-view with a fight like that when you have such a stacked card at the top?
To put it where?
To put it as the first fight on the pay-per-view. Any kind of metric you can look at that says, we have a
yeah.
big fight, maybe there's something, instead of building it up like that, we usually do.
No, I mean we crushed the budget tonight on pay-per-view. This thing killed it tonight. It was a very successful night. The gate was 9.9, and the pay-per-view was really good. So I don't know if it's listen, the buzz and the energy behind this card for a long time now, and I was telling people my social media this week was off the charts, and so was UFC's. Every one of the embedded series did over 1 million. This thing was trending really, really big.
And one more. 5 years now, MMA is legal in New York. Can you sort of gauge the impact that it's had now for you guys?
Yeah, think about how long it took us to get here, right? And we're number one all-time gate here at MSG, and now number 4. Think of all the massive events that have been here, right? And we're number 1. And Sheldon Silver's in jail, and we're number 1. Karma's a motherfucker.
Dana, right over here on your left. So you just mentioned it was obviously a very successful pay-per-view event. Do you have any early estimations on any of these numbers?
Do I have a guess on what we did
Yeah.
in pay-per-view?
Mhm.
No? No? Looking at my crew there. Should I
All right, I
say
guess
it?
not.
Should I- Listen, that's ESPN. If ESPN wants to put the number out, we'll let them put it out. But we buried the projections. We got these bean counters who come out and tell us what we're going to do, and they project what the number's going to be. We destroyed that number, so I'm happy. Jimmy Pitaro, the president of ESPN, was here tonight. He kept running over and showing me his phone as it would go up, and we're all pretty excited. We're gonna break the all-time pay-per-view record this year. Our record.
In terms of total pay-per-view buys?
Yeah.
Okay. And also, Bobby Green came in earlier and he told us that he believes that the bonus should be increased from $50,000 because, in his opinion, over the years, inflation would cause that number to not be as valuable anymore. What do you think about that?
I gave out 6 of them tonight.
All right, we'll let him know.
Yeah, I gave out 6 of them. He got one, so he should be happy.
And last one from me. Do you plan on having a backup fighter for the lightweight title fight next month?
Yes.
Is it Beneil Dariush?
We'll see.
All right, thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Dana, just speaking of backup fighters, here to your right again. We had Luque who missed weight as the backup this week. What kind of happens in that case, like in terms of a guy getting fined who's not fighting? Like, how does that whole thing work?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate when your backup doesn't make weight. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that question is, sir, but it's not good. It's bad.
And one more for me. This was a great card, right? Top to bottom, fantastic fights. When you look at the best UFC event of all time, how do you kind of assess which one? Does this feel like an all-timer to you? And personally, what would you say is the best UFC event we've ever had?
Yeah, this was what was it? This was the 8th highest gate in UFC history. So it's definitely one of the best fights that we've ever put on. And there's nothing I love more than when there's so much hype around a card and the card actually delivers. And that's what means everything. So yes, the answer is yes. I would call this one of the best ever.
Dana, how many more pay-per-views do you guess this sold than Canelo's fight?
What's the question?
How many more pay-per-views did you sell than Canelo did tonight?
Well, I don't know. I hope they did well. I think they're insane to go the same night as us. It literally doesn't make sense.
Did you
I
notice
watched
they
it,
were?
though. I watched it ringside.
Did you pay for it?
Yes.
Did you notice they were kind of defiant about going the same time as you? Remember last time Canelo fought, they held him for Nate Diaz and Hoy, and then Espinosa was out here being like, "Oh hell no, we're not doing that again." Did you notice that, and what did you make of that?
Yeah, I don't know. He's an asshole, so that doesn't surprise me. But yeah, it was a bad idea. I think it was a bad idea, and they charged like $80 for it. The thing was $80. But I like Canelo. I watched the fight. I bet on Canelo.
How much?
That's why I watched the fight.
How much did you bet?
I bet 100,000 on him to win by knockout.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Dana, up here over in the middle. Hey, we obviously see you guys come back to New York City for this, this Madison Square Garden card in November. I know you guys are starting to look into, expanding where you're traveling to more. Do you think you'd be back in Brooklyn anytime before next November, maybe?
I don't know. We'll probably be back in MSG.
The issue with Luque earlier, there was a lot of talk online that once they saw that Usman and Covington both weighed in fair, he just said to hell with it and stopped cutting or whatever, or maybe there was even that you had told him, listen, don't worry about it because these guys weighed in, they're good. That wasn't the case. You seemed to, when you earlier,
I like
you're
that story. That's a good story.
but
I
doesn't
don't
seem
think-
to be
I
accurate.
don't think he made weight. I wasn't there. Did he make weight? No, he did not make weight. Did you hear that? So what happened was, he didn't make weight. We did not tell him to quit and stop. But if he really was going to be the backup, they would have gave him 2 hours to cut the weight. So he didn't take the 2 hours to go back in and try. I like that story too.
Does he get paid still, like even though he missed, or like does he get paid as an alternate? How does that work?
Yeah, we paid him.
Dana, with Justin's performance tonight, how do you feel that narrows the gap between him and Islam as who gets next shot at Charles Oliveira or Dustin Poirier winner?
What's the question? Sorry.
With Gaethje's performance tonight, do you think he closed the gap in possibly getting the next title shot at the Oliveira?
Yeah, he put on a
Poirier
hell
winner?
of a performance tonight, and he's the #2 guy in the world. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
What do you think's next for Frankie Edgar after tonight?
I don't know. Frankie was fighting a good fight till he got clipped. I don't know. Frankie's got to go home, spend some time with his family, think about what he wants to do, and we'll talk about it. He's such a competitor. I mean, the fact that he was in here telling you guys that was a bad stoppage, that was the fucking Anderson Silva kick to the face, a good one, and that fight was absolutely positively stopped when it should have been. Cool? Have a great night, you guys. Thanks.
I guess just how are you feeling? Obviously, a very difficult fight, a very exciting fight. How do you feel right now?
他说：“你现在感觉怎么样？是一个非常难的比赛，但是非常刺激的比赛，让人兴奋的比赛。
我现在感觉挺好的，就是很遗憾。
I feel very good, but just I feel it's a shame I did not win the fight.
Did you feel that you had done enough to win the fight? Some of the rounds were very close. Did you feel you had done enough to win?
好几个回合都是你们的，就是差距就是非常的怎么说焦灼吧？你觉得你做了足够多，然后赢得这场比赛吗？
我已经很努力了，然后我觉得我真的已经尽了自己的努力了。到最后，我感觉我是胳膊很软，感觉推不动。
So I think I actually just did 100% what I can do. Just in the last round, I feel like my arm is quite soft, heavy, yeah.
You showed a lot of improved skills, with the grappling, the wrestling. How did you feel about your performance overall, other than maybe the last round?
就是他觉得你这次就是提高了很多，你的这个摔跤啊，你的这些地面技术啊，他觉得想问一下你，就是总的来讲怎么看自己这次的表现？
这次的表现的战术我觉得还挺好的，但是还是我觉得我只发挥出来了战术的60%-70%，还有很多技术没有发挥出来，所以我这次也特别感谢教练。我觉得我自己尽力了，但是我感觉我就特别不好意思面对教练，他们都付出了很多努力为这次比赛。
So I think the overall game plan worked well. I think just maybe I did 60 or 70% of what I could do. I feel like, I just feel sorry for the coaches because they have done a tremendous job for me during this training camp.
I know you'll still be working back to the title, but do you believe you'll fight Rose again sometime in the future?
我知道你还会就是继续打这个头衔战，然后你觉得你还会和 Rose 再来一场吗？
Yes， 我觉得今天的比赛很焦灼。其实 大家都发挥出来最好的自己吧。我觉得我也很期待有下一次的比赛。
I think today's fight is a really close fight. I think we both performed the best of ourselves. I'm very much looking forward to a rematch with Rose.
而且我也坚信，如果再有机会的话，我肯定会回来。
And I believe that I'll get my belt back if I have the opportunity.
Very nice. Last thing for me, I guess. What's the plan now? Do you go back to China? Do you stay here in the United States and continue to train here? What's the plan moving forward?
你下一个计划是什么？你要留在美国吗？还是再回中国训练？
我应该先回中国，然后如果有下一次比赛的话，我会提前更长时间来美国备战。
I think I'll go back to China. For the next fight, I will probably come to the U.S. a little bit earlier to train.
Thank you.
Weili, to your right over here. You're really working the leg kick very well early on in the fight, and it was just going very well for you with that attack. So I'm curious, was that a big thing you wanted to focus on? Was working the leg?
就说你就是这个比赛前面就是你的这个踢腿，然后非常的奏效啊，就是做得很好。就是这个踢腿是你的战术的一部分吗？
对，踢腿是战术的一部分，但是只是一点点，然后我没有发挥出来更好的战术，没有结合的更好。
Yes, the kick is a part of the plan, but I feel like I only did a small percentage of what we have planned. I could do so much better.
So I know you just had this fight and it was very good and competitive, but are you thinking of when you might want to get back in there, like a rough idea?
他说你这场比赛做的就是比上一场好很多，就是你想过什么时候再回来打下一场吗？
我觉得 UFC 只要给我安排比赛，我就可以去打，可以接受。
I would love to come back as soon as UFC arrange my next fight.
Would you be open to a fight with your fellow countrywoman Yan Xiaonan if that was presented to you?
如果 UFC 要让你跟严小南打，你愿意去打吗？
我听 UFC 的安排吧，但是其实，很多中国选手是不希望打内战的。
Well, I think I'll just listen to what UFC told me to, who they want me to fight. But actually, a lot of Chinese fighters, they don't like a civil war. They don't like go against each other.
Thanks, Weili.
Weili right here. A lot of the pre-fight talked about, how is Weili gonna feel being out there? Is just her morale? She hasn't lost in a long time. Can you just talk about mentally how you were feeling this week and this morning and just leading up to the fight?
他说很多人就是在想你心理上的就是情况吧，因为你上次比赛就是说输得很快嘛，然后大家都有点担心，所以你想问问你这场比赛就是比赛前一周或者比赛日，就是你心理上就是你心态感觉怎么样？
我的心态挺好的，我就是很感恩这次机会，可以在这儿打比赛，然后可以展示自己，然后所以我每天都很开心，然后跟我的团队，我们都每天都特别开心，所以我就是很开心有这次机会，所以我也没有觉得怎么样，对，就是因为胜负我们没有办法去控制，但是我们只能控制自己，然后做好每一个15秒。
So I actually I'm just so grateful for this opportunity to fight in New York in front of such a big audience to showcase my skills. So every day I was pretty happy, with my training with my coaching team. We can't really control the outcome of the fight, but we just try to control the effort that we put into the fight. I just try to win every 15 seconds.
And my final question, there was a lot made about, is there a rivalry, how you felt about her comments that she made before the first fight. Can you say that any bad blood, it's over now between you and Rose?
就是说，其实这场比赛之前，就是大家很多人在说你的第一场 Rose 的一些语言啊，就是一些言论。然后你觉得这场比赛结束，你跟 Rose 之间就没有什么就过节了吗？你觉得？
因为我觉得第一场的时候，其实他为了赢嘛，就是肯定是利用了很多的东西。然后这一场的话，就是没有，就是我们就是真真实实的打了一场比赛。我觉得 不管是冠军还是挑战者，我觉得我们都应该用真正的实力在场上来去表现，对，而不是去说那些就是关于政治啊，关于别的东西的，对。
So I think, for the first fight, maybe she just want to win, so she used those different tactics outside of octagon that get her advantage. I think for this fight, I think we're competing in the octagon fairly. I think I would like to just showcase our skills and strengths or ability inside the octagon. I think that's what we should focus on.
Thank you, Whaley.
Thank you.
Whaley over here on your left. You said that you trained with your teammates, booing you and heckling you during this camp. Now that the fight's over, did you think that tactic was successful, and did it help you at all when you were walking out to the cage tonight?
他说你在这个训练营，你就发现，听说你在训练，就是你的这些团队队友在虚你啊，然后什么的。你今天在现场，你觉得做了那些练习，你觉得对你有帮助吗？
我觉得挺好的，然后我就是专注于自己，然后就是别人虚我的时候，他们也不是，我觉得也不是不喜欢我，只是因为只是因为他们更喜欢自己国家的人，所以我觉得他们没有不喜欢我，对，所以我觉得还好了。然后他们虚我的时候，我就深呼吸，把他们的能量吸进来。
So I think the training is definitely helpful. I think when I got booed, I feel like I understand that it's not like they don't like me. It's just because I'm not one of their countrymen, countrywomen. So I'm just not from the same country. So with that thought in mind, I feel a lot better. So also I remind myself where they booing me, I just take a deep breath and get their energy.
All right, thank you, Whaley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What up, everybody?
Rose, congratulations. Certainly didn't come as easy as the last time around. 25-minute battle this time. But how did you feel about the fight overall?
Very proud of myself. Yeah. It was a little tougher, but I'm very proud of myself.
I'm curious if this is the fight that you expected to have last time. I mean, obviously it went your way, but I mean, were you expecting this type of fight last time around?
I think that I was expecting it to. I didn't really have any expectations going into it. I figured that there's a good chance that it could end up being a back and forth battle for 5 rounds. But I think expected myself to, I guess, feel a little looser, and I was a little stiff sometimes, then loose, and then stiff, and then loose. So I don't know. It was a roller coaster.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that because, like, early on, it did seem like you were a little tense or tighter. Or I don't know exactly what it was. Could you feel that? Do you know what it was?
I'll have to go back and assess, but I definitely got to give some credit to Whaley. She came out pretty strong in the beginning, and I just knew that this is a 5-round, this championship fight, so I got to pace myself.
Yeah. Obviously, her striking power well known, but a lot of talk about her improvements in grappling, wrestling. Did she impress you there? Did you feel like she had improved from what she's shown in past fights?
I think she did improve. Even maybe her distance management was really good. But yeah, I was expecting that for sure. So it wasn't a surprise that she had the improvements that she did, but she did really good.
You turned it on late, really started to take control of the fight. Do you feel like there were any real adjustments that you made, or was it more just finally getting comfortable at that point?
Yeah, it was just sort of loosening up and just committing a little more to everything. I was holding on to something. I don't know why. Yeah.
They go to read the scores. I know you said you felt confident, but I mean, when they're reading those things out, does it get a little scary? Are you starting to think about, is this, are we losing this belt?
I was pretty convinced going into the 5th that I had won it. It was sort of pretty close in my mind, I guess, for the rest of the fight. But going into the 5th, because of it, such a dominant round for me, I felt as though that I won it, and I felt good, and I felt like I could even go more. But yeah, when they read her name off on the scorecards first, I was like, oh, wait, is it going to be her, then me, then her, or something? But no, but yeah, judges, you never know what the judges could see. And I know it was a close fight, so I was ready for whatever.
I'm sure you're anxious to start preparing for somebody else and move on, but do you feel like you're done with her for good in your career, or do you think that you're going to meet sometime down the line?
You know, she obviously, she's really committed to martial arts and being the best, so I'm sure that she's going to do whatever it takes to try to contend for that title again. So I wouldn't be surprised, but, you know, we'll see.
Nice. Last thing for me, I know you're going to want to celebrate, enjoy it, take a little time off, but you know we always want to know what's next for the champions. I know Carla Esparza said that she feels like she really should have been here tonight.
Yeah.
Do you feel like she's next? I mean, is that the fight that, like, if you got to choose, you would prefer to take that one?
I mean, she was on my mind before, I guess, going into this one. So that seems sort of like that's the logical step, you know. But yeah, I gotta see what the UFC's thinking, I guess. But yeah, I would love to fight Carla.
Rose, to your right. To your right over here.
Oh shoot, sorry, other right.
Did you intentionally choose the Goldberry body armor right there?
No, but it is the most delicious one. No, yeah, it is delicious.
Yeah, it is quite good. You know, having fought Weili twice now, do you see her struggling against the rest of the division, or could you see her being like an intercontinental champion of sorts, where she's only just not going to be able to beat you? Where do you see her standing in the division going forward?
I mean, it's tough to say for sure, but I see her being a tough fight for anybody in the division. I mean, you've seen what she's done in the past, so I could see her. I could see her giving anybody a run for their money for sure, especially the improvements that she made. So I guess it just depends on how her mindset goes from here.
And when you look at the rest of the division, do you feel that Weili is still the biggest threat to you, or does someone like a Carla or a Marina Rodriguez stand out a little bit more?
I'm gonna have to think about that one and get back to you on that. At the moment, I think she definitely posed the biggest threat, but now that I think it could be spread equally across the division at this point.
Definitely. Congratulations, Rose.
Thank you.
Hey, Rose, right here.
Hello.
3-0 in New York, 2-0 at MSG. Some people are saying, is this now the Rose Garden?
I love it. Yes.
Obviously, you know, tougher fight than the last one, but you are a very good martial artist, and obviously it's all about improvement. When you have a 5-round fight like this, how do you dissect it in terms of what was effective and just when you look at it back, how do you see it in terms of how did I get better from the last one?
I would say my defense, I think, could use a little work, even though I have been working on it. But I think just I don't know. It's hard to say right now. My offense, I feel like, is really what pulled me through and committing to my shots and just committing to stuff. But my composure and my championship mindset is really what worked.
We saw backstage Valentina Shevchenko congratulated you. Obviously, you know, you, Valentina, Amanda, just like really, you know, 3 women at the top of the game. Just what's it like to have that kind of respect from a peer like that after a performance like tonight?
I said it before, I'll say it again. I think Valentina's my favorite fighter, definitely one of my favorites. So huge honor, definitely enjoy training with her, and I'm really happy for all the success she has, and I just love watching her.
What does an off season look like for Rose Namajunas? Because obviously you take a vacation, but you know, it's like, how long is it before you're like, you know, I need to work in the gym and just make sure skills don't deteriorate in the off season?
I would say this past year, it's been, for this last training camp, I've been training 6 months straight. And then before the last one, it was a 6-month training camp as well. Maybe I didn't have, you know, my eyes or like contract necessarily specifically signed, but I knew about something on the horizon. So I've been in a training camp nonstop, and I think that's what's really contributed to my success these days is even though I'm doing stuff on the side or, you know, just enjoying my time, I'm always trying to improve and trying to get better, staying active in the gym. And I think that's something that I've learned as I've matured is just be a martial artist and always be ready.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Rose, right here. I asked you and Kamaru this question at the press conference, but I'm just wondering when Justin Gaethje was fighting and that insanity's happening, were you watching it? And
Yeah.
how are you keeping your emotions in check at that moment so you didn't have like an adrenaline dump before your fight?
So yeah, I definitely was. I mean, every time I watch Gaethje fight, it's like, I mean, Kamaru is obviously we're teammates as well, but Gaethje just has those crazy, something about the way he fights it gets you moved, and that definitely had my heart racing. And usually I don't watch the other fight. I might check it out on my peripherals or whatever during my warm-ups and stuff, and I'm usually pretty focused, but I couldn't not watch. It helped that it was a little break, before mine, but yeah, that was a challenge. And I'm so glad that he won, and I'm so glad that it was exciting, classic Gaethje style of a fight, but it was tough.
Yeah. Do you think Trevor solidified himself as the coach of the year tonight by going 3-0?
Man, what he did was phenomenal. Like, just seeing him on point with everything, and like I said it before. I was definitely nervous about this undertaking, all of us as a team and whatnot, and for him to. But that's what I always said was, if anybody can do it, it's Trevor. So I would say I'm a little biased though.
Is that something that like you're cool with how it went tonight? Maybe you don't want to make it a consistent thing though for all your fights, having all the teammates on the same night.
I wouldn't say no to that for sure. Like, never say never. Having that experience and overcoming that, I feel confident that we can do it again and maybe a little bit better. But at the same time, maybe there will be some slight adjustments made, I think, going into it next time. Just little, maybe more communication. But other than that, I don't know. I think we actually did pretty good, so I think it's all good.
And last thing, not really a question, more of an observation. I don't think I've ever seen a champion sit up there wearing the belt around their waist during their press conference. So I dig it.
Oh, is that silly? Okay.
No, I love it.
Okay.
I actually love it. But
Yeah,
it was just an
it
observation.
feels good. It feels good. So.
There you go.
Yeah.
Rose, here in the middle. So
Yeah.
obviously you've had some excellent results here in New York City, like was mentioned. Do you feel like a special connection with the people here? Because they give you a very warm welcome today.
Yeah. Yes. New York City is amazing. The people here are always show me love, and like to my surprise sometimes, like just how much they appreciate what I do. And but New York City inspires me. Like I said after weigh-ins, like they're the toughest people in the world. Like this is the coolest city. Little chaotic sometimes for my liking, but I just love the environment. The people here are amazing.
Why do you think it is that the people of New York are just so driven to you in particular? Because again, there's so many fighters here. There's a lot of people who come and go and here and there, but they, for some reason, they give you a very big pop. What is it you think they're driven to?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't know. Maybe I'm like. Maybe I'm like always the underdog or something. I don't know. Just I wear my heart on my sleeve, so maybe that's what it is. Like when it's time to be tough, I'm tough, and when it's time to just be human, I'm human. So maybe they could relate to that in some way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rose over here on your left. So a lot of more fighters than usual were slipping out on the canvas in the cage tonight. Did you
Yeah.
notice a difference at all in your fight?
Yes, I for sure. Like that was the first time I felt slippery on the canvas. That was a little weird. Maybe that's why I don't know, I was just standing there. But I felt it was a little slippery too.
And what was it like having Halle Berry wrap the belt around you? Was that a special moment?
That was pretty awesome. Yeah, it took me a second. The weigh-ins, I was just so lasered and focused that I didn't realize till later that, oh gosh, that was that was her up there. Like that's amazing. Huge fan of hers, and yeah, to have her put the belt on is wow.
All right, thanks, Rose.
Thank you.
Couple questions in here in the middle. You gave props to Whaley earlier for her distance management, but it did seem that when the fight was standing at distance, you were really managing the range very, very well. Aside from maybe one or two shots, you didn't seem to get hit by a lot of the stuff from just a standing. There was a lot of stuff in the clinch, a lot of groundwork. Was there something in particular with your footwork this particular camp, or just walk through that?
I just, I guess I have to rewatch the footage because in my mind, I felt like she was just moving side to side really well. So normally she's kind of just straight back and forth. And I think that was maybe sort of her, maybe something that she implemented, maybe working with Henry and them over there. So yeah, the side to side was definitely a little more challenging because it made me want to go in instead of I guess drawing her in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rose, I wanted to ask you a quick question back in the back. You've discussed your battles with trauma in the past. As a fellow trauma survivor myself, I wanted to get your tips. What do you do on a daily basis to overcome that, especially getting in front of people, big crowd in Madison Square Garden, very pro Namajunas. What does that do to help boost your confidence and help you battle with trauma?
Good question. There's a lot of things that I do. Number one is I think, having Pat in my corner and amongst everybody else, Trevor and Greg Nelson and Chico, having a really good support system is important. Having connection to my higher power is, is everything to me as well. And then, I would say there's a book called Fight Your Fear and Win, or Fight Your Fear to Win, I think, or Fight Your Fear and Win. But yeah, it'll kind of walk you through all the different little, my sort of mental processes that we all kind of have. I realized that mental strength or weakness is not a black and white issue. It's more of like your mind is like your body, right? Like you have biceps and legs and, calves. And, there's different muscles. So I feel like mental strength depends on the context. So in some situations, one person could be very mentally strong, in another situation, you could be really mentally weak. So it's just about training those specific areas. But I don't know if that answers the question properly, but yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rose, over here. Sort of along those lines, I was watching the fight. I noticed at one point I saw Weili got a punch through to you, and then you said, "I'm the best. I'm the best." I noticed it looked, at least from my point of view, looked like that's what you said. Is that correct?
Oh yeah.
And was that
yeah?
that
We were
something
talking to
consistent
each
that
other
you were
in
doing
there
the whole time?
She was saying, well, I was saying I'm the best, and then she was saying I'm the champion, and she came out, and then I was like, I was the best, I'm the best. So yeah, we was going back and forth. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Thank you guys.
What's up, guys?
So congratulations, another win. You keep extending the streak. You know, a win in this rivalry. What's the emotion like for you right now after that performance?
Just content. You know, that was about 30 minutes ago, so, you know, I'm over it now. My daughter passed out, so, you know, obviously that's my main concern is, you know, making sure that she has a good time. You know, making sure that she remembers tonight and it's memorable for her. So, you know, that's really what's on my mind right now. But once I get home, of course, then I'm going to start, you know, watch the fight and start to decompress and take it all in.
Yeah, obviously a lot of success early. Hurt him really bad in round 2. Looked like maybe the fight was going to be over there. What were your thoughts, I guess, there? And did you think the fight was done at that point?
Yeah, you know, it's very, very hard not to, you know, not to get crazy when you hurt someone like that, you know. And but I know he did his homework. He went to a good team. You know, those guys at MMA Masters are good coaches, and I know they prepared him well. So he stayed very poised, very controlled. That's why he didn't try to get crazy, because I would have found the shot and put him away. But, you know, like I said, as a competitor, I respect him. You know, that's the next best guy in the division.
Yeah, he did start to come alive, right? I mean, he had a good comeback as the rounds were, you know, wearing on. Did that? I mean, I know you respect him. You know, he's got cardio, all those things. But did it surprise you how well he was able to rebound over the later rounds?
No, it didn't surprise me. Like I said, you know, he's a great competitor. I know this, and you know, we both know that. So yeah, it didn't surprise me. That's why I had to stay poised and just listen to my coaches, because I really wanted to get him out of there. And so once I start feeling like a giant in there, I'm like a tank, and I want to just get him out of there. But I understand that in this game, it's about, you know, using your mental, because we're both physically adequate and we're prepared. So, you know, I stayed composed and got the job done.
Is there any disappointment that you didn't get the finish? I mean, obviously you always want to do that, right? But you still got the belt. You got another win. I mean, but is there any disappointment at all that you weren't able to finish?
No, absolutely no disappointment. You know, this guy's tough as nails. It's very, very tough. Like, let's be honest. You know, Ali needed a Frazier. You know, all these guys, you know, you can be the great ones, but there's always going to be that one guy that's going to be able to push you, and he is that guy. You know, as much of him outside of the octagon as, you know, most people don't like, myself included. You know, you have to respect him as a competitor.
Yeah. Can you share what the words were that you guys had with each other after the fight? It looked like he maybe actually let the character go for a second and had some true words with you.
No, it's just you know, just two competitors. We went to war. We've spent almost an hour together inside that cage, and so, you know, we you know, I'll leave that between me and him.
Fair enough. Do you think you're done with him for good? Do you think that's the last time you see him in the cage, or do you think that your paths will cross somewhere down the line?
I don't know, man. That guy's tough. You know, I think he'll tune up a lot of guys in this division. So, you know, we'll see. It's up to him. You know, if he's willing to do the work and get back up here, then, you know, if I'm still here, then we'll make it happen.
Nice. Last thing for me, obviously, as champion, you don't have to pick your opponents. They get picked for you. But give us an idea of just the schedule, man. You know, like what do you want to do? Do you need some time off? I mean, when do you think we might see you compete again?
I need some time with my daughter. You know, she's passed out tonight. So, you know, that kind of, you know, lets me know that, you know, I need to give her some time. You know, because these are special. Like I said, these nowadays, these are special for me. You know, I need to have, she's 7 years old. She understands what's going on. And so I need to make it memorable for her. So, you know, I've been gone for dang near almost 10 weeks. So I need to give her some time. You know, I can't really even think about fighting right now. I've been thinking about fighting a lot this year, you know, as you guys know. So, yeah, I got to go home and give her some time.
Kamaru, back here in Nigeria, brother. You took a trip back to Nigeria for the first time this year. I'm sure it was an emotional trip for you. How much did that trip gear you up for tonight's fight?
It was a great trip. You know, I really got a chance to go and see what me competing and how me competing the way that I do does for not just the country of Nigeria, but the continent of Africa. So, yeah, of course, it's extra motivation, extra fuel each and every time I step in there.
Thank you.
Were you at all surprised by the drop in output? Because the first time Covington and you fought, he came out putting lots and lots of less power but more volume. And I think the stats were there was 111 in the first round last time and 47 this time. Was that something you expected, or was that a bit of a shock?
No, it's no shock. I mean, you know, in that first fight, let's be honest, you know, Covington's used to just wearing guys out by putting on that pace. But then you realize there's another motherfucker who got pace too. And so you got to slow your ass down, because eventually I put him away at the end of that first one. So he went to a good team. I know they were going to prepare him well, and they definitely did.
Hey, champ.
To talk about a little bit, we talked to Dana. We know that you expressed your interest in Canelo. Dana White's words, not mine. He doesn't want to box Canelo.
Dana doesn't know that. You know, like I said, you know, I want something that scares me. You know, if I'm gonna leave my daughter for another 12 weeks or more, you know, it's gotta be something that really, really gets me up. And you know, I like that. You know, I want to challenge myself. I know a lot of people are gonna talk down or say a lot of bullshit and say this. Oh yeah, you don't want this, you don't want that. Yeah, don't get me wrong. He's a master at what he does. I love it and I respect it, which is why I want to challenge myself in that way. You know, the last time I was an underdog, we saw what happened. So it is what it is. I get it, you know, but we're the ones who will take those risks. We're the ones who are willing to go over there and take that risk. They won't dare come over here and take that risk.
Does it bother you at all that Canelo got the finish in his on the other side of the country tonight?
Does it bother me? No, because I didn't know he got the finish. If I knew he got the finish beforehand, I would have got that finish too. You know, it's about being calculated and technical, and I did that tonight.
To talk a little bit, you know, staying motivated, because when you look at the welterweight division, maybe some new guys coming up, but then it's like, could it be more rematches? And obviously, as a competitor, how do you keep outdoing yourself against the same opponent? So can you talk a little bit about that? When you get in the gym and you want to improve as a fighter, how do you keep yourself hungry to keep reaching those levels, knowing all the guys are behind you?
It's a matter of me just wanting to, you know, compete. Like I said, you know, the biggest driving force for me was competition. You know, it's something as a wrestler, you know, and most wrestlers can attest to this. It's something when you go in there and you compete with another man and you break his will and you beat him, you know. So, you know, as long as I still have that will to compete, I'm going to be doing my thing and I'm going to be here. But if I don't, then, hey, I know when it's time to step away.
You know, it's very rare nowadays to have a UFC champion defend the belt 3 times in the calendar year. Obviously, they were big fights. You had a strong beast side in April, and then obviously tonight. I mean, I know it's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of training away, financially and everything else with the attention. Has it brought you those things you were looking for? Because obviously you could have said, Dana, maybe I need just a little bit more time before I get back in here.
I mean, no, not at all. Because, you know, we can really weigh this out. You know, my daughter's 7 years old. She don't give a shit if daddy has $20 million stacked up. You know, when she's 18, what she's going to say is, where were you? You know, and God forbid something ever happens to her, she's going to ask me, where were you? You know, she's not going to give a shit if daddy can pay for her to do this and this and that. You know, so, you know, you got to weigh it out. And right now, those are the important things to me.
Thank you and congratulations.
Kamaru, right over here. Could you put in perspective what Coach Trevor Whitman's done for you in this next phase in your championship reign, or what it means to you to have him there?
Yeah, I mean, he kept me poised, especially in this fight, because I wanted to let the juggernaut come out. In that second round, I really wanted to let it come out. I was going to Hulk smash this guy. But, you know, Trevor kept me there and told me to just stay composed and stay poised and try to find that finish. And I did, but, like, you know, Kobe is no slouch. I mean, he's a tough dude, and you saw that tonight.
If you feel deep down in your heart, if you look really inside of you, do you think that we'll see you compete in the middleweight division before your career's over?
Like I said, you know, as long as Israel is the champion there, that's not really something that, you know, that interests me. You know, like I said, unless Dana wants to give us $100 million, then me and Israel have to have a serious talk. Like, hey, we want this 50 apiece or what? But, you know, right now that doesn't really interest me because I meant what I said. You know, 2 Nigerians with belts is more important to me than 1 Nigerian with 2 belts.
Kamaru, being the welterweight division has such a stacked history with gentlemen like St. Pierre and Hughes who help really in a lot of ways put the sport on the mainstream map. Where do you think you have to go in order to surpass them as the greatest of all time?
Where do I have to go? I mean, where do I have to go? I mean, you know, I just keep doing what I do, keep stacking them up, and I mean, it's no secret who the best is right now. And you know, George is one of those guys that I would have loved, I would have entertained, I would have loved the fight. You know, I respect him a lot. I think he did a tremendous amount for the sport. You know, but you know, time evolves, fighters evolve, guys get better, guys get hungrier, and that's just where I am right now.
Kamaru, it's been obviously a spectacular year for you. Do you feel like you are right now the front runner as the fighter of the year? I think it's probably a 2-horse race if Dustin Poirier can win the title next month. But do you think it's you?
I mean, I'll let you guys decide that, but you know, you know.
Dana was in here and he said, this guy is the best ever. He is the best welterweight of all time. He is on his way to possible GOAT status. You're 15-0 in the UFC. One more win, you'll tie that Anderson Silva record. How close are you seeing your ceiling? Like, do you think there's a lot of room for improvement for you still?
Yeah, absolutely. Every morning I wake up, there's a lot of room for improvement. You know, and the way that I pee in the toilet, there's a lot of room for improvement there, you know. Sometimes you only hit the seat, you know, and you got to wipe it down. But, you know, there's room for improvement every facet of life. And, you know, as long as I'm still hungry to do this, then, hey, I'm going to keep improving.
I asked Rose the similar question when I asked you guys at the press conference. Justin Gaethje's fight, obviously an insane back-and-forth battle, incredible performance by him. Were you watching that, and was it difficult to keep your emotions in check and not, you know, get too high so that you have an adrenaline dump before your fight or something like that?
No, he's a madman, you know. So, you know, and then I have to fight that guy every day at practice, you know. So, no, it wasn't. It was just. For us, it was just a matter of, you know, we're screaming instructions. Relax. Don't get crazy in the back like he could hear us. But, you know, he's just, you know, he's a special fighter, special athlete.
Is this something you'd like to do again, you know, having all three of you on the same card, or do you think
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yes.
You'd do it every fight if you could?
Yeah. Then we get to, you know, now our coach gets to have a break, you know. Then we come back in camp again, and, you know, so he's not boom, 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 this guy and that guy and this guy, that guy, you know. So now it's just one shot kill, all three. Then he gets a break, we get a break, then we jump back in. So, hey, it makes sense. It worked, right?
It did work great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And last thing from me, there was a lot of, you know, slipping around on the canvas tonight. We asked Dana about it, and he said he didn't really know why there was, you know, a lot of that happening more so than usual. What were you feeling in there? Did you feel a different kind of canvas? And he mentioned something before the 5th round, or when the eye poke happened, that you were like stomping your feet or wiping your feet off, and he said to ask you about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something about that cage. It's, you know, I love the canvas because you see what the UFC does there. They're trying to, you know, provide a great canvas to where you can grapple on and not slip, but for some reason it gets slippery in there. Maybe it's just something with, you know, when you're in a fist fight, maybe your feet sweat. So, you know, we got to figure out something to do with that, but yeah.
Kamaru, even though there was some hostility with the New York City crowd, what does it mean for your legacy to having main evented a pay-per-view at Madison Square Garden where some of the great combat sports warriors of the past have participated?
Means a lot. Like I said, right now it's kind of hard to process it, but you know, when I get home and really decompress, I'll be able to process how special tonight was.
I know there's been talks about your next possible opponent. I know you want to take some time off, do some much-deserved family time, but
what opponent?
Oh, I mean, who are you looking at next if you had to make a choice? I mean, Luque's thrown out there. I know he's your former teammate with the Black Zillions. Everybody's talking about Hazmat. Who would you like to fight next if you had your way, besides Canelo, obviously?
Like I said, it's a business now. So we're going to go back. You know, my manager, Ali Abdelaziz, does what he does best. And we'll sit with Dana, and Dana does what he does best. And we'll see what makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on over here on your left. So Colby tried taking you down 11 times tonight, and he was unsuccessful every time. What does that mean to you to dominate one of the best grapplers in the division?
I mean, like I've told you guys, this guy's tough as nails. You know, as a person, maybe he's a little rotten, but as a competitor, you know, nothing but respect. As a wrestler, we understand each other and we speak wrestling, so we know how tough it is in there. So, I'll give him credit, man. He's a tough son of a gun, and he showed it tonight.
And at the end, you ended up offering up a handshake. Were you at all surprised that he obliged you in that? Because earlier in the week, he said he would not do that.
No, I'm not surprised. I mean, we've shared almost an hour, pretty much an hour with each other inside that cage. So I don't care who you are. There's mutual respect that just comes alive. It's just a spirit of competition. That's the spirit of martial arts.
And you, last one for me, you mentioned that earlier in the week, your main motivation for wanting to box Canelo Alvarez would just be purely from a competition standpoint. Does that mean that you'd be willing to maybe do it under a charity setting since it's not about the money?
What? You heard that so? Charity. Are we wearing MMA gloves? No, come on. Come on, this guy. No, listen. Of course we want the money. What do you mean? Yeah, absolutely. No, I absolutely want to test myself. That's the thing. You guys don't understand. Unless you guys fight, you won't understand the feeling that it is to be back there all freaking day. The feeling that you have in your stomach. You want to take a shit, you want to piss, you want to shit, you want to piss, but nothing comes out. You're nervous, your stomach is in knots. You have that, there's something about that feeling. You hate it. Every aspect of it, you hate it. But then you're done. And then the next day, it's like, that wasn't that bad. I'll do it again. It's something about that feeling that's addicting. That's Canelo's a big, scary guy. And he knows I'm a big, scary guy if he ever came over here.
Was there any concern when it went to the judges, or did you think you had done enough to get the win?
Concern? No, this is mentally, I say I dominate from start to finish, and I mean that. I don't have to worry about the scorecards because I've already kept score in my head. Each and every time I was dominating him. I controlled him with the jab, and he knew he can get reckless, he can get crazy because I would have put him away. So, hats off to him. He's a very, very tough guy, but yeah, wasn't worried about that.
Real quick one. You and Valentina Shevchenko are neck and neck on possibly being the first champions to actually fill up all the rubies on the new belt. I know you're not about the numbers, but for the ego, would it feel good to finally fill it up before anyone else?
Absolutely, it would feel amazing. It would feel amazing. So we'll see. It's a race.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Colby, I guess first things first, the right foot there clearly had some ice on it, potentially getting broken. When did it happen? What's the update there?
Landed on his knee, and I felt it just explode right away. So it's probably broken. I have to get an X-ray when I get back. But I was fighting for something bigger than myself tonight. I was fighting for all the people that keep us free here in America: first responders, law enforcement, military. So this was something bigger than myself. I wasn't going to quit on them. Yeah, I got clipped in the second round, but I'm going to keep fighting and keep coming forward. I'm unbreakable. You can't stop me.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, what is the emotion like right now? Obviously, you came up short. You didn't get the result you wanted, but another incredibly, close fight, another great fight against a top individual that I'm sure you can be proud of the performance. So what's the feeling right now?
No, I'm definitely not proud of my performance. I should have won that. It was laser thin again. I honestly thought I had it 3-2. And it was very close. He clipped me. I clipped him a couple times. Whatever media reporter in here that said I went for 11 takedowns and had unsuccessful attempts. Fake news. You guys do real journalism. That's why you guys aren't journalists. You don't have journalism degrees because you put this fake news out. I obviously took him down. So I broke that stat. So you can't ever hype him up anymore and say he's never been taken down because I took him down. So, I think we have unfinished business. I'll go 5 more rounds out in the parking lot right now, and I'm serious about that. I will see him again. I'm not done with him. I'll fight whoever it takes to get back there. I think the most logical step is the heated rival with me and my old roommate, Street Judas Masvidal. He should probably pull out of that fight with Leon Scott, and we should just run it. Let's run it in the first quarter of the first part of the year, and let's do it, man. That's a heated rivalry, man. He talked so much shit in the media and said so many things about me. Look at what happened when he fought Marty. He got dusted. I mean, if he fought me, he would get dusted even worse, and it wouldn't be competitive. So I just want to hold these people accountable for the way they run their mouth in the media, and it makes sense. And if he goes ahead with that Leon Scott fight, then Hunter Campbell, I just pray to you, please, God, don't cut him after that 3rd loss in a row. Save him around. Let me be the one that ends his career.
So you'd still fight him even if he comes up short in that one?
Yeah, just because it's such a personal rivalry. He said so many things about me in the media. He said I was a fragile guy. The guy's the most fragile guy on the roster. Look, is he awake yet? I mean, dude, he got dusted, dude. Unconscious, dude. You'll never see me in the octagon like that. And I'm getting better every single day. You haven't seen the last of me. I'm going to get that UFC title. I don't care who I have to go through, what I have to do. I know I'm the best fighter in the world, and I know I'm going to be able to claim that gold someday.
Yeah. I know you mentioned thinking you had 3 rounds of 2. I imagine that would be 3, 4, and 5. So I did just want to ask you about 1 and 2. It seemed like you started maybe a little slow or maybe a little less volume. Was that by design, or was that just something that kind of played out in the opening 2 rounds?
Yeah, I came out a little sluggish. Didn't get to my volume, didn't get to my pace like I normally do. I was trying to see what he was working with and what he was going to come at me with, but I still thought I was right there. I didn't think that he clearly won 1 or 2. I mean, maybe 2 because he clipped me, but 1 was very close. I don't know how you could just outright give it to him. So it was a very close fight. Whatever judge put it 49-46 is out of their fucking mind.
Yeah, and obviously this has been a very heated rivalry, but it looked like you did have a couple of words of respect at the end of the fight. I'm just curious if you could share kind of what the conversation was.
I can't respect a guy like that. I mean, go look on YouTube. The guy dissected everything that, he cheats on and everything. And you see those injection marks all over his stomach. The guy's not a clean fighter. I'm a clean fighter. I'm raw American steel and twisted sex appeal. And I did this the hard way. I'm a kid from Springfield, Thurston, Oregon, and look at me. I just sold out sold out Madison Square Garden, 4th highest gate in the company's history. The pay-per-view numbers are astronomical. Take one guess who did all that. That's me. I'm the one that sold this event. I'm the one that put all this asses in the seat. Whether you love me or hate me, you came to watch me tonight, and that's not debatable.
Nice. Last thing for me, clearly you want to see him again. Do you think a fight with Masvidal is enough to do that? Do you think there might be some more work? Where do you think the path is for Colby Covington from here?
Yeah, I think a fight with Masvidal gets me right there. He was just a top contender before he got beat 2 times in a row. So you guys put a lot of hype on him that he was this superstar and he's unbeatable and these crazy knockouts and he's just no one can beat him. So that fight needs to happen, man. He talks so much shit. And ran his mouth so much, and just the personal rivalry and the heat on that fight. There's not a lot the fight like that in the UFC. The way the UFC can sell that, so I'm just begging Hunter Campbell, I'm begging Dana White, please let it happen. Whether he pulls out of the Leon Scott fight, we could do it the first quarter of next year. We could do it in Miami, man. Let's go to Miami. We got the best governor in the world, Ronnie DeSantis, and let's run it in Miami, man. Let's see who's the king. I know I'm the king of Miami, so. If he wants to come step up, I want to punch him in the face for his ex-wife, Maritza. I know she wants to hit him in the face. So, he's got some alimony to pay in the meantime, and, he's a dirtbag. So let me finish that guy.
Colby, over here on this side. To speak to that takedown record that you were just talking about, Daniel Cormier actually said that's 2 when you took him down. So I would assume you would agree with that.
100%. It was obviously a takedown. He was on his hands and knees. I came around to the back. I had the body lock. I obviously got the 2-point takedown, so whatever journalist is in the crowd saying that it was unsuccessful on every attempt is obviously not a journalist. You need to go report on something else because you know nothing about MMA. Your eyes are blind, and you should probably get them checked.
Hey, Colby, right here. Didn't go your way, but the crowd in New York, quite a few fans for you. Can just put into words what it was like to come out to Madison Square Garden and get that kind of reception?
It was incredible, you know. I said all week about, you know, all the people that have headlined this place, Muhammad Ali, Rolling Stones, Hulkamania, you know, and now Colby Covington. So to have a sold-out arena like that and just so many of my close friends that came, you know, Candace Owens, Jack Owak, Bang Energy, you know, and Well came out to support me from Miami, you know, famous Spanish rapper. So it was incredible, man. It's just, it was electric in there. You know, you could hear the people, you know, in the crowd going crazy the whole fight. So it was amazing. I'm just a kid from a small town in Thurston, Oregon. No one makes it out of that town and goes big. So for me to make it out of that town and be where I'm at, I'm undeniable. You guys can say whatever you want in the media. I'm undeniable. There's no doubt I'm a star in this company. I'm one of the biggest draws, if not a top 2 or 3 big draw in this company. So I got unfinished business, and I'm going to keep working. I'm going to get back to the grindstone as soon as this foot's healed up. And you haven't seen the last of me, I can promise you that.
Looking at the schedule and depending on what may or may not happen with your old buddy, are you open to possibly still coaching the Ultimate Fighter against him if they said, hey, the schedule lines up for both of you?
Absolutely. I think that would be an honor. And what better way to have a heated rivalry like that on the Ultimate Fighter? So I think it sells the show pretty self-explanatory in itself. And, you know, it'd be an honor to be a coach. I remember growing up watching the show, and I was a big fan of it. You know, my good friend and Uncle Chael, good buddy, you know, coached the show. So 2 kids from Oregon, Oregon gangsters. It'd be an honor to be able to do that. And, you know, I love putting on good business for the UFC, so I'd love to coach it and give the people and the fans what they want.
For the record, do you just like the color green, or is it because you got paid?
It's a little bit of both, you know. But, you know, I do like green. It's nice when it goes in the bank account.
Thank you.
Colby, to go back to Tough there, I mean, is that something in terms of timing that you'd want to do? Because it takes a while to film that show, to air it, and I feel like over the past few years you have lost a lot of, you know, opportunities in terms of time off and stuff. Is that something that would come into play if that opportunity came around, not wanting to sit out for a long time again?
Yeah, you know, there's 2 sides of the spectrum. I don't want to sit out and keep wasting the prime of my career. I feel like I'm hitting my stride, and I'm getting better every day, you know. I got new good coaches, and Daniel Valverde, Cesar Carnero, Jonathan Lopez, Charlie Weiss. These guys are pushing me every single day, so I still keep seeing leaps and bounds and improvements in my game, and I know the best me and my full potential hasn't came yet. So the biggest thing is I'm a company man. I love putting on good shows for the UFC and selling, you know, tickets and shows and pay-per-views and everything. So if that's what the UFC wants, I'd love to deliver it for them and give them a good show and give the fans what they want, man. That show's been boring, man. There's no animosity. There's no heated rivalries. There's just guys are trying to fake these dramas and these storylines. So let's get a real storyline going with a guy I used to beat up every day in the living room, and let's sell this fight, man. The guy talked reckless. Where's the street car going to be if he ducks me his whole career? Because that's what he just did. Ever since I beat Woodley, he was sitting out. He didn't want to fight me, and there's a reason why. So if he doesn't come out and fight me, he lost all his street cred, and he's a bitch.
And I guess if you do have a broken foot, that could, you know, fit in the time frame in terms of recovery, right? Or you could do the show while you heal up.
Yeah, we could do the show while I heal up. I don't anticipate it being more than 4 weeks, 6 weeks at most to heal it. So I think the first quarter of next year is a good time for me to come back and fight, and hopefully it lines up for when he wants to fight again.
And last thing from me, you set up media day in terms of the first fight. You didn't feel like your coaches at the time were giving you the correct advice between rounds. You mentioned the breathing thing and all that. How do you feel the feedback was and the directive you got tonight differed?
Oh, man, it was a completely different game plan and different coaching, and they just calmed me down, helped me to breathe, you know, told me to keep my hands up. A couple of times I started getting a little reckless again and dropping my hands and smiling and deviating from, you know, the game plan and the strategy, but they calmed me down. Cesar Carnero told me, hey, calm down, hands up. Daniel Valverde was reminding me, hands up, hands up. Let's not, you know, start fighting emotional. Let's fight smart, and let's get our hand raised. You know, you're clipping him and you're catching him too, so just be fast. You know, a couple of times in the fight, I was just using too much energy. I was trying to knock him out. I wanted to knock him out so bad, and I was swinging everything I had, but that wasn't working. When I was catching him, it was when I was being speed and timing and accurate and not loading up on my shots, just touching him and going back in. So, all the credit to, Cesar Carnero, Daniel Valverde, Jonathan Lopez, and Charlie Weiss. They had me at my best tonight.
Hey, Chaos. Another fighter that you have beef with is Dustin Poirier. Obviously, he's fighting for the lightweight championship. You want to fight this guy. Can you ever see yourself going down to 155, or do you see yourself fighting him at 170 and he would come up?
Yeah, I remember, that Louisiana swamp trash, Dustin Poirier. We used to step on the scale at our old gym all the time, and he weighed bigger than me. I was like 182. He'd be like 185, 188. So he's a bigger guy than me. I'm not scared to fight, guys at my weight. He's obviously scared to fight guys his weight. He has to cut all this weight to feel like he has an advantage over guys. So he's another guy that it makes sense for that fight. He talks so reckless in the media. How are these guys not going to be held accountable? He said, hey, it's on site. When I see Colby, it's on site. Dustin, name the site. Let's do it, man. Bring that little Jezebel of a wife. Bring that little kid you use as a prop. And let's get this going, man. I'm holding people accountable in the UFC. They're not going to be able to talk reckless and not be able to step in the cage. And if he doesn't want to fight, he loses his street cred too. And he's nothing more than Louisiana swamp trash.
So not at 155.
No, I don't feel like depleting myself and going through that struggle. It's not a hard cut for me at 70. It's really easy, but we could do something in the middle, 162 maybe, but I don't feel like cutting all that weight. I'd rather fight at my natural weight class and show the world that you don't need to cut weight to be the best in the world. You just got to show up and fight and prove that you're the best.
Colby, when Kamaru was out here earlier, he referred to you, he sort of compared you to being the Frazier to his Ali. And I'm sure like some people would take that as a compliment, but I can imagine you thinking that's not a compliment. Can you react to that statement, please?
Yeah, that's definitely not a compliment, He's a cheating coward, I have no respect for that guy, He's obviously a cheater. He's cheated in multiple fights. I mean, he was holding my glove tonight against the cage. In the first round, I shot a takedown, and he went bomb twice to the back of the head. And, I think Dan Mergliato is top 3 best refs in the game, but I told him before the fight, I warned him, hey, do not let this guy hit me in the back of the head. And he did right away. If you go back and look at the footage, he clearly the back of the head. And when you hit someone in the back of the head, man, it definitely dazes you real quick. So, that caught me off guard. And just more tactics of him cheating. You'll never see me cheating or, trying to cheat. So it's just got an unfair shake again. But, I still think I got the job done. But I promise you ain't seen the last of me.
Colby, 20 years from now, when we're talking to our kids and grandkids about the greats that have participated in sports here in Madison Square Garden, what are you going to tell them what Colby Covington did on this day at MSG, and how will we tell them to remember this fondly?
The beautiful thing about, my performance and my body of work is I'm not the one that has to tell them. They can go look at the footage. They can go look at the tapes. They can look at everything that I've done, my accomplishments, and the way I fought. I put it all out there every single time. There's no quitting me. You cannot get me out of that octagon. There's not a person that can finish me on this roster. So, I think the kids will see that, he was a kid who was unbreakable, and he just kept coming forward. A kid from Thurston, Oregon, never had no quit in him, and he fought for a bigger purpose than himself. Law enforcement, military, the people that keep us free and protect our freedoms here in America. So I'm going to keep fighting for them. This is bigger than me now.
Tonight you used Kurt Angle's old theme in the WWF, and you seemed to get a kick out of the chant that people were associating with that theme song. What was going through your mind when they were chanting that, man?
Man, every time I hear the crowd saying, you suck, it's such a freaking humbling experience. It's beautiful. I love it, they're playing right into my game. I have everybody right where I want them. They're in my trap, in my web, and it's just beautiful. I would never have used that song if I didn't, personally ask Kurt Angle, and he gave me permission to use that song, and, just to recreate these moments and get the crowd into the show. They were a part of the show tonight. They were screaming. Some of them loved me, some of them hated me, but they were entertaining, and they got their money's worth tonight, and that's what it's all about here at the UFC is giving the fans, they're a show for what they're paying for. They're paying their hard-earned money for this, so it was amazing. Loved it.
Last question for you here. You used Kurt Angle's theme before. You used Hulk Hogan's theme before. I know you like that wrestling. What's next for you? What's the next theme you're going to use from the old wrestling tree? Because they got some good ones out there, man.
Yeah, I'm the king of spoilers and surprises, but I can't be revealing that yet. You got to tune in to see. I definitely got some surprises in store and some beautiful things that I have planned for the future and future events, but I can't reveal them here. It's like watching the beginning of a movie. You don't get to see the end. You got to pay attention to see the end.
Kobe, back here. You had said all week, to your right. You had said all week that you were not going to shake his hand, and at the end there, we actually saw the two of you embrace and actually shake hands, which showed a sign of sportsmanship. Talk a little bit about the conversation that you had in there with Usman, because he actually mentioned it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of respect for each other, Even though he's cut corners, and I've never had to cut corners in my career, I came here the long way. I earned this blood, sweat, and tears the hard way. Never cheated, never cut corners. I'm just a blue-collar kid from Thurston, Oregon, in these big fights. So, if that's the pound-for-pound number one fighter in the world, I just put on 2 epic fights with him and beat him in multiple rounds. So where does that put me? And why am I not in the pound-for-pound rankings? Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. Everybody hates me.
Colby, to your right over here. We were just mentioning some wrestling, and a lot of your old ATT buddies are doing some stuff in AEW these days. Do you have any, aspirations of following in their footsteps, maybe going into the AEW ring?
I don't pay attention to anything those losers do. So, I'm focused on putting on the biggest and best fights in the world. You might see me in WWE one day, but, I don't think you're going to see me in a second-tier promotion like AEW.
Thanks, Colby.
Thanks, guys.